frequency of the times. The sonic chronic.
Hey, I'm Shazy, creative alchemist, music producer and artist, and vocal vixen. Born in Xanadu and living in LA, ready to scratch that itch in your brain.
And hey, I'm Mandy, singer, actress, lover, born and raised in LA, here to sprinkle a little magic everywhere I go. And welcome to the Sonic Chronic, where we discuss the soundtracks and music of the most popular film titles of a year and how they were influenced or were influenced by the cultural and global buzz of that year. Who were its popular tastemakers and storytellers, and what was the frequency of that time?
Yes.
And in this episode, it's 1982, and your secret is out, Shay.
Oh!
Your secret is out.
Part two
of 1982.
We're excited. And as we said, the last episode, which was part one, we knocked the little
Time machine.
And our time we knocked the little throttle in our time machine, and it took us all the way back to 1992. And so we're so psyched to talk about part two titles of this year. Now, before we get into that, as we always do, we talk about what was happening around the globe. So we're going to take y'all back to that time, 1982. What was happening in the news? What was happening around the globe? Why don't you start, Andrew?
What's going on in the news?
What was happening?
Do you remember Cheers?
Do I remember Cheers? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember
Iconic
a little
TV
bit
show.
of that theme song?
Where everybody knows your name. Do. And we're always glad you came. Da, da, da.
You want to know where everybody knows your name.
Yes.
Cheers debuted this year, 1982.
Oh, that was the first season?
First season of Cheers.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. And that ran for so many seasons.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a big, popular show.
Very famous actors got their start on that show, yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. So over here, guess what else?
What else happened, Shay?
It's like, Cheers! And then, okay, Solidarity Movement in Poland. Isn't that exciting? No, actually, the Solidarity Movement, led by Lech Walesa, I don't know if I'm saying that right, continued to gain momentum in Poland in 1982. This was an independent trade union. It basically challenged the communist government and demanded greater political workers' rights, or political and workers' rights. Yeah, it played a crucial role in Poland's eventual transition to democracy. So that was the beginning, and I'm telling you, it was like a weird beginning time shift. Early 80s, it was like we were trying to find ourselves. We were kind of like in this great like moment of like the sorting hat or like a fork in the road. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
You know what I mean? What else we got on the...
You know, when I think about 1982, I think about the top song by Joan Jett. I love rock and roll. Put another down in the jukebox, baby. I love rock and roll.
Come on, take a time and dance with me. Okay, I had to go all the way to the end. I didn't know that was 82.
Chart topper. Oh, yeah. 82.
And
baby,
that was
all the
such a
way.
cool story about her. Later on, there was a documentary about Joan Jett, and she's still rocking it. She's still rocking it.
I believe it.
Believe
I'd love to see
it.
her
All right.
concert.
What else happened? We had... You get all the good stuff. I'm all like, okay, let me keep this hype going. All right. We got the Hama massacre. What the heck? This was in February 1982. The Syrian government launched a brutal military crackdown on the city of Hama, where a rebellion by the Muslim Brotherhood had taken place. Oof. Yeah, the assault resulted in the deaths of thousands of people and widespread destruction. This solidified the government's control, but at a significant cost. So it was pretty devastating.
Well, that was a frequency of the time.
That was a frequency.
Whether it's pop and light or not.
Oh, well, I mean, do you have any more to add to that?
I do. Just to touch on part one, where I talked about how the compact disc started taking flight.
Yeah.
This is just truly when, Sony released the first ever CD player.
Oh, it was truly. Okay,
Yes.
So that's right.
And they released it in Japan first.
That's right. That makes sense. That's kind of like how Nintendo, that story, that movie that came out recently was called, I saw it in the theater actually. It was talking about the story of the handheld.
Tetris.
It was called Tetris, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that actually, the reason why that game became so popular, because it was distributed, it was the handheld.
I know.
And I want to say
Isn't it just a Nintendo?
something boy.
Game Boy.
Thank you. Oh my God.
gosh.
We got there. Yes, because the new version of the Game Boy, which was groundbreaking in terms of graphics and how they were able to do this 64-bit thing, he negotiated getting Tetris as the default game that got shipped with it, and that's what made it so worldwide adopted.
Love Tetris.
Super smart. And that came from Russia. It was a really interesting movie. The other thing that happened was that was the year, February 15th, 1982, that the MV Ocean Ranger sank. It was a offshore drilling rig. It sank off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada during a severe storm. 84 crew members lost their lives, making it one of the deadliest offshore oil rig disasters in history.
Jeez Louise.
And to end my sad news, so you can pop into something more if you have more. The death of Princess Grace of Monaco happened in September of 1982. So she was formerly known as Grace Kelly, Princess Grace of Monaco, and she died in a car accident. And the tragic event marked the end of a glamorous era and deeply saddened people around the world. So that year was a strange one. There was a lot of kind of war stuff. There was a lot of weird tension and kind of disasters. But then there was all this really cool cultural stuff popping up.
And then
right?
Just musically and cinematically, it was taking flight.
Yeah, I think technology was starting to be really interesting in terms of cinema.
Oh, yeah, we're going to deep dive on that one.
So let's go back. Yeah, let's go into the storytellers and our filmmakers of that time. And so we have a few more titles in this part, too, that we want to get to that really were top in the charts of 1982. And everybody was vibing on. So shall I pick first on this one?
You go first.
All right, here we go. Shake it, shake it, shake. We got a shaky tube. Yeah. All right. Ooh, so official. So what we do is we actually read a quote from the movie, and Mandy has to guess, or one of us has to guess, whoever's not reading. So we have to kind of, channel our
Meryl
acting
Streep.
debut. Yeah, our Meryl
Channel
Streep.
your mother, Meryl.
That's right. Mother Meryl. Don't fail me now. Oh, Lordy. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see if I can do this right. Okay. I ain't what I could be. I need to do better. I liked it. You liked it? All right, here we go. I ain't what I could be, and I ain't what I should be, but I ain't what I used to be.
You know what? That sounds like Miss Dolly Parton in the best little whorehouse in Texas.
That's right. That's right. That was Mona Stanley, played by Dolly Parton.
Miss Mona.
This was her self-reflective and resilient spirit. She was a sassy Spitfire in this little
she
film.
Sure enough was.
And it was all about her empowerment as a business owner. As a female business owner, but also someone who kind of was the cornerstone for her community in an ironic way, because it was a gentleman's house. I don't know how to put it nicely. Obviously, the title says whorehouse, and she basically was a brothel owner. She was the head mistress, whatever you want to call it. But it was almost in this weird, very lovely way. I don't know how to put it. It was what's the word? She made it very kind of
She made it heartwarming.
Very, exactly.
It felt like home.
It didn't, it felt like a family. I know. And even
it was on a chicken ranch,
They called it the chicken ranch. That's right. Instead of saying it was, obviously the title says whorehouse, but the way the town said it was almost like they knew what it was, but they realized how much it really benefited the community, honestly.
She would donate to high schools and churches.
And it stimulated the economy of the town. And it really was doing no harm. In fact, people were really happy with the experience.
It's been around for years.
Been around for years. And Burt Reynolds was in this, and he was hottie patati during that decade too.
Dom DeLuise, he played Melvin the reporter that exposed.
He played the antagonist or the kind of villain in this. Oh my God, it was really good. And and then Dolly, she was kind of I think she was in her 40s? I don't know, but she looked so youthful and
She was in her 40s actually when she did this movie. And it It's just like such a wonderful film. It's a mixture of love and laughs and incredible music, by the way. And it's actually based on the 1978 Broadway musical of the same name.
Yeah, another musical.
But did you know, Shay, that this is based on real life? This actually existed. So Melvin Thorpe, Dom DeLuise's character, he actually, so the real
so
Melvin.
He's kind of like a religious, not religious, what would you call him?
He's just like, he's a news reporter.
He was kind of televangelist vibe, wasn't he a little bit?
He does kind of give
He was
that
like a
vibe.
righteous kind of whatever, but anyway, yeah.
Basically, he exposed this chicken ranch, which initially was a brothel.
He was like, oh, this, like, you know, these, I don't know what's the word, it was very religious, like, kind of speak, where it was just like this horrid, like, you know, devilish kind of activities that were happening in this town. It was ruining the town, you know?
I mean, but it really wasn't. But anyway, the real life Melvin, his name was Marvin Zindler. And he was actually responsible for closing the real life chicken ranch brothel in Fayette County, Texas. And it had been around for 70 years, but because of this reporter, they shut it down.
But why? And was he just saying because it was just like, you know,
basically
immoral or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much thing? So. And it made headlines in the Texas Monthly magazine in 1973.
Oh, that's right. It was Texas. Duh.
I'm like,
oh my God, my brain.
It was also in Playboy in 1974. It was like published. But anyway, they wanted to make this movie to remember the chicken ranch.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
it did seem kind of random. And it did seem kind of like, whoa, controversial title and everything. So that makes sense.
Speaking of the controversial
based on
title,
a real situation like that.
A lot of places didn't want to even promote the movie because of such a controversial title. Where even like
it was very overt.
When Dolly would do her interviews, she would refer to it as the little chicken house of Texas.
I was just going to say, instead of them saying Chicken Ranch of Texas, like they could have got away with it, but they went with like Best Little Whorehouse. Yeah. Just right on the nose. And I think that was actually speaking to what they were trying to do also. Again, it was like the age of like Victoria and this was a musical again. Mm-hmm. It was almost like this was a very controversial issue and typically could be very heated and very kind of like intense. And they put it in this way that was like very lighthearted.
Totally.
They used humor, but they were also actually speaking to legislation at the end. And they were actually speaking to, again, women's rights. It was like there was a lot going on in this that, again, I thought Dolly associates herself. I think she intentionally chooses certain things. You think, oh, Best Little Whorehouse is like this weird, like, oh, that's demeaning to women. But actually, no.
So empowering.
It was very empowering. And so that's why I feel like people might miss that with the title.
Yeah.
Give it a chance because she really is an activist in that way. And fun fact, I want to bring that up now. Yeah. Segue. The very famous song that most people thought Whitney Houston was the original, but she was not the original. Dolly Parton was, but Whitney made it very famous, was the song I Will Always Love You.
Oh, yeah.
And that original song that Dolly wrote actually debuted in this musical.
It sure did.
It was her singing to Bert.
Yes.
Love interest, Bert. Or I don't know what his name
was
in the movie.
Yeah, big country fans will know that song for sure. But
and the way Dolly sings it is her style, not like Whitney.
Yeah, and you were telling me before how like a little fun fact of so many people wanted to re-record that song, but Elvis himself, he wanted it. And Dolly really truly wanted Elvis to sing it, but the catch was Elvis wanted half of the publishing. And Dolly was like, nah, fam. And she cried and cried for weeks about it, but she just said, and I quote, I said, I'm sorry, but I can't give you publishing. I wanted to hear Elvis sing it, and it broke my heart. I cried all night, but I had to keep the copyright in my pocket. You have to take care of your business.
And
she's a businesswoman
that's why she has thrived. She's super smart and she's super generous. And guess what was a cool spin about that? I mean, I could actually see Elvis, but what was interesting is because she held on to it, because he, didn't sweeten the deal, she held on to it. And who did she end up giving it to?
Well, even before that, she really wanted to give it to Patti LaBelle. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she really wanted Patti LaBelle to sing it. And Patti was like super down about it. But before she can give the actual yes, it was already in the Bodyguard soundtrack, which everyone knows Whitney Houston blew it up, sang it.
Oh, so Patti LaBelle kind of dragged her feet?
A little bit.
And
But there were no hard
scooped
feelings,
it.
like Patty talks about it. But
at least Whitney, and now Whitney made it iconic again.
Oh my
and
gosh.
that actually propelled Whitney's career.
it did.
That song, getting that song from
number
Dolly.
one in dozens of countries and
Yeah.
millions of dollars, won Grammys that year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And most people didn't realize Dolly Parton was the original writer of that song and performer.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Whitney made it her own. Like, Whitney sings it like, and I. That's a Whitney moment. The original is like,
If I could
and it's actually goes, it doesn't do that big note.
No, not
in the
at all.
original. And so watch the movie, you'll see what we mean.
I will always love you.
Yeah, that's Dolly's. Exactly.
Love you.
Yes, good
Yeah,
job.
it's very sweet and
Yeah, it's
cute.
very sweet and so Dolly.
I love when Dolly talks in it too.
Yeah.
All you've ever dreamed of. And I wish you joy
And I wish you joy.
and happiness.
happiness.
But above all of it,
Yeah.
I wish you love. You know,
Yes.
she dedicated that song to Porter Wagner because that's where she got her start on the Porter Wagner show.
Yes, I remember that. Fun
Yes.
fact.
So she was there for years and before she had her hit
Yeah,
songs
they
like
were-
Jolene, which by
they
the
did
way.
a show together.
Yeah, so that was kind
That
of
was
like
a
her
farewell
goodbye.
song to him. Yeah, it was
And he was like, that's the
sweet.
best song you've ever written. You just allow me to produce it and you can go.
Exactly.
So she said, all right.
No, she's like, all right then.
But anyway, there were so many great songs in this movie with
Yeah.
the soundtrack.
There's a couple other
And you know,
great
Dolly
ones.
wrote a lot of songs, two of which didn't get featured in the
Oh, okay.
in this actual movie, but later got played in like the TV version.
Like the
of it.
soundtrack. Okay.
One of which was like sneaking around, where the stallions run. That one got cut, but later
Oh.
made Dolly's album Burlap and Satin, and she reworked it and renamed it A Cowboy's Ways.
Oh,
A little fun
Yeah,
fact about that.
that was definitely like a Dolly moment in cinema because it really was Dolly that made that musical, that movie.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I loved this movie. It was really fun.
It was fun.
And her and Burt Reynolds really had great chemistry.
They had great
too.
chemistry. He's super cute in this. And
Did you know he suffered a hernia at the very last scene when he picks Dolly up and puts her in the truck? Like, unfortunately, he suffered a double hernia. Like, it's a freak
I didn't
accident.
know that.
I don't know,
Oh
yeah.
my God. Well, wow. He was, but it's surprising because it seemed like he was kind of at his peak at that time. You know, he's a little heartthrob. Mm-hmm. And I think he was doing other things like Cannonball Run. I don't know. He was kind of like a darling of the day.
He really was.
In that decade as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that, I remember seeing bits in here and there, but I never watched it from start to finish again. That was one of those movies where I was like, let me watch this from start to finish. And I really enjoyed it. And I actually appreciated, even though there was antics and it was silly, but there was like an underlying theme that I really appreciated about this movie. You know what I mean? Like it was actually had something to say. It wasn't just so silly and like goofy and like slapsticky.
Yeah.
You know?
Although Dom DeLuise did bring that.
He had
He's
that
natural
vibe.
for
He was
it.
great. He was always that kind of vibe. But I think it was good that he played the villain.
Yeah. he
Because a
did-
villain that was darker playing that is too dark. Don't you think?
Yeah, he did a great job. And
Yeah,
this
he did.
had a lot of awards. It was nominee for Best Actor in Supporting Role for Charles Dunning and a Golden Globe nominee for Dolly.
Of course.
Best Actress and Best Motion Picture, a comedy or musical, which was great. My favorite song that came from this movie was Hard Candy Christmas.
Hard Candy Christmas.
I'll make it through.
I was trying to ask Ginger. I was like, why? I was like, is hard candy like a?
Candy
Was that like a sloppy seconds or something? Because like she made it seem like hard candy was bad. I'm like, I thought hard candy was good. She's like, no, hard candy was like, that's a hard candy Christmas. You got that bottom of the barrel.
During the
Did you know
pandemic, there
that?
were so many memes. You know how some of the lyrics are like, maybe I'll get drunk.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take a walk. Maybe I'll gain
Everybody
some
was
weight.
doing
Maybe I'll go on a date.
yes. Oh my God, how appropriate for pandemic times. Is that what people were doing?
Yeah.
That's funny.
But it is such a good movie. You
It
guys
is
need to
sweet.
watch it. It was my first time seeing it. And I call myself a
yay.
Dolly fan. I'm like, what is this movie? Because I'd
Yeah.
heard of these songs, obviously,
That's what
but
I figured, yeah.
I didn't know it came from a movie. And
I know, isn't it cool to see the origin of some of these
Yeah.
songs that we don't know? We're like singing them and they get brought back to life, and you're just like, you don't really know what the origin is, and you're just like, whoa, when you finally see it, it's so exciting.
So
you know,
exciting.
Yeah.
We
So,
gotta rate it.
all right. So that wasn't a second chance to dance, was it?
Mm-mm.
No, that's the main one.
That's the main
That
one.
is
'Cause
that's
that
was topping
actually
the charts. That's right.
Top grossing live action film of the year. You're gonna freak out
was
about this.
musical.
Made almost $12 million at the opening weekend, and it dethroned E.T.'s 6-week run at the top. It sure
Because
did.
of Dolly.
Biggest weekend for a musical ever.
For music.
Grossing
yeah,
$69 million.
I believe that. I believe that because, again, Victoria was the same year, and there was also Grease 2, which we're going to mention. We didn't
Yeah.
review it, but there was a lot of musicals coming out.
So
but
many musicals.
It was her name. It was her. And that song was obviously iconic. But all right, so how are we going to vote on Best Little Whorehouse in Texas? Best Little Chicken Ranch in Texas. Okay, so I really liked Bert in this one.
Me too.
He was the sheriff. He was
He's so
on the
handsome.
fence of doing his job. That was a big kind of trigger for
They
him.
were secret lovers.
But they were secret lovers, and
why he
like
just kept it running.
Yeah, and he was kind of torn between doing the right thing as a sheriff and also doing the right thing by her and her business there. All right, so we are going to. What's our rating for this? Well, maybe we should say, is it the up one? I don't know yet, but the down one would be like, or is it a hard candy Christmas?
Hard Candy Christmas.
Okay, so what's the up one? What's the good one? Is it a?
Is it a happy ending?
Oh, yes! Good job. Okay, yes. Okay, so is it a happy ending or is it a hard candy Christmas? That's so good. Finally, we're coming back. The magic's here. All right, so, and we vote
A happy ending. Yeah.
Plank those boots. Tip the hat. All right, so that was great. Definitely
good.
check it out if you haven't seen it. Dolly at her finest. She's just so charming. I just love watching her. She's so entertaining. She just has such good energy. She has such a
She's
cool
the sweetest, most
voice.
beautiful voice.
She's
and
such a sweetheart, I
writes
feel
the
like.
most beautiful songs.
Don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah. She's
And
such
she
a good
gives
person.
a lot of money.
She
you know, a lot of the money
Donated
that.
a lot to the pandemic. You heard about that, right? To
Yeah.
COVID vaccine.
Yeah, the vaccines.
$1 million or something like that. Like, no, she's underrated.
Yeah.
As a
She has
philanthropist.
a theme park, too,
Oh, that's right.
in Tennessee.
Tennessee, I tell you, they have all those country theme parks.
We gotta go.
Graceland, Tennessee. Wait, Graceland is in Memphis. Yeah.
Memphis.
So
I've
where's
been.
hers? Where's Dolly's?
Dolly's is not in Memphis. It's in Tennessee.
Is
But-
it Memphis? Is it
wait.
Memphis, Tennessee?
What? Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of Nashville and Memphis. I've been.
Wait, is it in Nashville?
It's a little outskirts.
I feel
of
like I heard that.
Nashville. I think it's like a 3-hour
Competing
drive
with
or something.
Elvis and Dolly. You got to make the two. It's like go to Memphis for the Graceland and you
Yeah.
go to Dollyland. Isn't it like Dollyland or something? I feel like
Dolly
it is Nashville
World or something.
Yeah, isn't it near Nashville?
But I think it's like a 3-hour drive or something. I remember going and being
not
like,
really
it's a
near.
little far. But
You went?
not to Dolly World. But I've been
Oh.
to Nashville and Memphis.
I
I went to Graceland.
Yeah, I did too. That
Oh
was
yeah,
wild.
we talked about that. in the
Yeah,
first episode.
and that's right, Elvis, and then I've been to Nashville.
so much fun.
really
I
cool.
want to go back.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's got obviously country singer-songwriter roots in Nashville. So
Country
of course,
Music Hall of
Dolly, I'm
Fame is out
sure
there,
that's
too.
a great place for her to set up shop, do her Dolly World. I'm so curious. I want to go.
Too.
What,
Maybe
is it like
a
an
Sonic
amusement
Sonic
park?
Field trip. Yeah,
Or is it just like, hi, y'all, come on in?
I think it's an amusement
She
park.
bakes you like cookies and stuff and sings you a song. All right, well, my turn to pick?
My turn to pick.
Oh, right, I just did the whole Dolly quote. I was all, I needed to redeem myself. I wasn't ready.
I'll make it through. I've been singing
Oh,
that
you're
all
good.
week. I
Yes.
love it. Oh, Dolly.
Oh, Dolly.
I have a Frenchie named Dolly.
That's right.
sure
Is that why you
did.
named her that?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay.
Andy named her that. It's like a whole
Your
thing.
brother.
Yeah, he thought he was going to make dollars because he thought he was going to breed her. And we were like, absolutely not.
Why would her name being Dolly make any difference there?
Because Dolly's kind of a nickname for dollars.
Oh, my God.
We're editing this out. We're not gonna do this podcast. Oh my god! But yeah, we were like,
We're
no,
definitely editing it out. Okay.
we're not.
I
Yeah.
would just be like, yeah, we named her after Dolly.
We named her after Dolly Parton.
Sounds good.
Oh,
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna like it here.
Good job, Annie.
Yeah.
Is that you, Annie? Oh my
Annie.
God! And
Oh,
who was
Little
the name of the
Orphan
actress?
Annie.
She's on
Eileen
there.
Quinn.
Eileen Quinn. I don't remember seeing her, but yes, that was a famous quote
Oh my
from
gosh.
Annie the musical. I'm telling you,
Annie
the year of the
the
musicals,
musical.
making it in the top 10.
Leaping lizards.
This one is a famous. The sun'll come out
Tomorrow. Bet your bottoms dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun.
Yeah. And
Tons of others like.
yeah,
What other?
I mean that was a famous one. Everybody knows the sun'll
Let's
come out.
go to the movies.
How about this one? No, the really famous one. It's a hard knock life for us. It's a hard knock life. Oh, you just mixed it up. Who did that again?
I always think
Was
of
that
Austin
Jay-Z?
Powers.
Oh, Austin.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, that was the famous scene. She was
treated.
basically she's an orphan.
She's a
She
little
was just
orphan,
set back in what time frame? Was this a 1930s vibe?
1924.
1924.
So this is
And
an
is it-
adaptation of
Yeah.
the comic strip Little Orphan Annie.
That's right.
And the book by the same title by Harold Gray.
That's right. And yeah, so it was hard knock. It was basically she was abandoned. Her parents, she always thought she was holding out hope
Yeah.
that her parents would someday come back for her, but probably they were not alive anymore.
Yeah.
And she lived in an orphanage with Carol Burnett as
my
the
gosh.
headmistress of the orphanage. Was hilarious. She was
Hannigan.
Miss Hannigan. We love you, Miss Hannigan. And
Oh my gosh.
she was awful. And she plotted. She plotted and schemed. She was not the greatest, of course. That was the kind of story of the fate of orphans in these homes. They just were not the best conditions. And so yeah, there was a rich secretary basically was working for this rich
guy,
Mr. Warbucks.
Mr. Warbucks, Daddy Warbucks.
Billionaire at the time, not millionaire.
Bajillionaire.
Billionaire.
Yeah.
And so he basically, I guess
For
she was
publicity and for just to look good.
improve his image.
Wanted to have an orphan stay at his house for a week.
His secretary or personal assistant who was kind of close to him,
Yeah.
she suggested
Yes.
that this would be a good idea to have him bring an orphan back for a week and good for the look and the image. And she ended up going there and picking Annie. And it was kind of cute how that happened because the headmistress, Carol Burnett's character, didn't want Annie to go.
Yeah,
She
because
kinda
Annie
had
was always trying to break
She kind of
out.
had this
and
fondness for Annie
escape.
in this weird, twisted way.
Like love-hate for Annie.
Yeah, and so, but no, she was charmed by her, and Annie kind of made it so that she get picked. And yeah,
She was so cute. Honestly,
Super
Eileen
cute.
Quinn just was
She was really good for that role.
So good in this. She's
Yeah.
so heartwarming to watch. And it's just a film of hope, love, and courage. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was a musical. Did you know the musical ran for 6 years? It opened in 1977.
Yeah, outside of the movie as a musical.
Won
That's right.
7 Tonys Awards.
Oh, it was a
including Best
long-running
Musical.
Broadway musical. That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Before the
who
movie.
played. Yeah, it was hard for me to imagine any other Annie than her because she did so well in the movie.
Oh my gosh. So Drew auditioned for this too.
Drew Barrymore?
Yes.
Oh my
Drew
God, I can see her
Barrymore.
being really good at it.
But auditions ran in 22 cities for this, and 70 actresses were considered. It took 2
Wait,
years.
for the movie?
Yes. It took 2 years to
Oh.
cast this role. And so Annie, Eileen Quinn, who played her, really truly had to
I bet you they
show.
wanted a real redhead. Was she a real
So
redhead?
her iconic hair is a wig.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's not a redhead. I think I heard that.
And it was actually a really itchy wig too.
That makes sense because the way it was, I always thought, gosh, it seems like big hair for a little kid.
She was so
She was really cute, and she just was such a good. The way she played the role, I thought was so authentic, but she was still upbeat. So it was a very tough line to walk because it could have been super cheesy and unbelievable because she was what kid's gonna be like, that's okay if you don't want me, at least I enjoyed the experience. She was saying that. I'm like, who says that?
Right.
But I believed her.
She was just so humble. And
Yeah,
just
she was
so
super
grateful
humble and
for
grateful.
everything. And she was constantly thinking of the other little girls at the orphanage, wanting to just get back
the one
to
girl that
them.
couldn't sleep, and she was comfort her as an older sister. And remember Sandy, the little dog or runaway that basically she found, and she was like, no, he's with me. She would only go if he went with her.
That worked on the musical too. He was a trained actor.
Oh,
This dog, yeah.
I don't know what his breed was. He was a bigger breed, and but
Like
he
a
was
big
fluffy.
old fluffy mutt dog.
Fluffy mutt. He was good.
Super cute.
I mean, he played the part. He was a silent.
What about Tim
giant.
Curry in this?
Oh, Tim Curry was the brother of Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett,
Hannigan.
yeah. And
That's right.
Bernadette, too.
And they were plotting and scheming they wanted to, because Annie had a locket that was left by her parents, and it was kind of like the friendship kind of heart that's broken in half and you put it together. So she felt like they had it. She didn't know that they gave it to the orphanage. Again, her parents must have died or something. But
yeah, they did die.
right. So they figured when Mr. Warbucks decided, because they were going to send her back after a week, and then the secretary, I forget who she was great. She was like, I don't want to send her back. Can't we keep her? I mean, like, geez, like, he's
they
so
fell in
filthy
love
rich.
with Annie.
They fell in love, yeah. And so he was convinced because he was kind of had a shining for her and was like, all right, let's do it. Let's adopt Annie. Let's do it. And he was trying to have, like, be that kind of guy because he was all about power and money, and he was a Republican. Did you notice? That was so weird to me. I didn't notice that first time, but now as an adult, there was a lot of, and this was actually, like you said, in the 1920s, but there was a lot of Republican, Democrat, and they even have FDR in there. Remember?
Yeah, he was like
Annie
his,
wanted
like,
to see FDR.
best friend,
and they would
too.
talk about Republicans and Democrats and like stereotype. I was like, that was weird how much they had that. And in the 80s, there was like kind of like the Cold War vibe going on. I remember how the one guy in the beginning, or Sandy kind of saw, and the guy threw the bomb in, and they captured him, and he was coming through. She was like, who is that? Was he trying to kill you? And he was like, yeah. And the secretary, she was like, oh, those are the Bolsheviks. They're trying to get him because he figured out how to make the American dream something. And it was just like this weird kind of political propaganda plug. And I was like, oh, that was weird. And Bolsheviks, I looked it up. They were an extreme liberal party that started in the end of the 1800s. But it was a weird thing that they were like, the Bolsheviks don't want it. I'm like, what the hell? And she's like, the Bolsheviks. But yeah, there was a lot of that going on. And he was a Republican. And, it was almost like FDR, they wanted to do things. And he was a Democrat, but it was almost like they could come together and see eye to eye. It was just like this weird political thing I didn't notice before. But yeah, the point was he wanted to adopt her. And then she was like, well, this is really sweet, but he got her Tiffany's bracelet. And she's like, but I really am waiting for my parents to come get me. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to help you find them. But when he scoured, that's when it's like, he had a reward. And so
a lot of bozos try to act like they were Annie's parents, but they weren't.
But they were always looking for the locket.
Always looking for the locket, which Miss Hannigan still had. So her brother and his wife
plotted and schemed.
And Tim Curry was so young in this.
So young.
Oh, he was really,
that
really
was
funny
before
too.
the Rocky Horror Picture Show stuff, right? Or during?
Same year. I can't remember.
Was it the same year?
But did you know Steve Martin turned down the role to play Rooster, Tim Curry's role?
That would have been Steve Martin?
Yes, and the reason he turned it down was because he was actually dating Bernadette Peters at the time. Well, they were just broken up.
Oh, the girlfriend of Tim Curry.
Rooster, and it would have been too difficult of the heart, matters of the heart.
I could see Steve Martin playing that role.
He totally could have played that role.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, or like, what's the other one? Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, all that stuff.
Yeah,
remember that?
he would have killed it. But
he would have been good.
Tim did a great job, and
he did do a good job.
As far as Miss Hannigan, they offered that role to Bette Midler first, and she turned it down. Yeah.
Oh, I can see her being that too.
Yes, but I mean, Carol rocked it.
Carol was
she
awesome.
Was nominated.
She was actually really good in that role.
Yes, it got her a Golden Globe nomination.
Yeah,
and so did Eileen Quinn, who played Annie. Mm-hmm. And the Best Music Original Score at the Academy Awards, it was nominated, and amazing musical.
Amazing musical. So, well, the other thing was, it was really cool is that, yeah, like you said, all those songs, everything it was at the end, obviously it was a nice ending, and they ended up adopting her and being a family with a dog. And it also looked like, I was kind of like, he has all that money, why doesn't he like buy the orphanage and like take care of those kids? It looked like he did at the end with that big kind of celebration. So I was like, okay. Whew. Yeah. But it was just kind of like one of these like Disney endings, which is cute.
Super cute.
But it was an interesting time and era, and like also, it was pretty hardcore about the kids. We were just like, it's a cute musical, but it's like they were really treated poorly. And then remember the boys? It was just like street kids, like they were out there, and it's like it's just this weird
lot of movies
disconnection.
During this era kind of depict that though.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember?
Wasn't great for the kids.
Little Princess. Who was also in an orphanage. The Little Princess. Anyway, it was kind of around this time
I
frame
don't
too, and they
remember
had
that
the
one.
orphans cleaning and sweeping and doing all these crazy things. Anyway,
Oh my
love that
gosh.
movie, but,
Well, this musical reverberated around the world. And it was like you said, it ran as a musical for quite some time. I mean, it's just an iconic story, but it is a story of like, the quote you said, I think I'm going to like it here. She was always just had this optimistic view.
Yeah.
Even the sun will come out. That was about that. She was like, look, take every day as a new day.
Yes.
And just look forward to tomorrow. She basically was like, it was such a good sentiment and message for us that we can,
overcome anything.
listen to these days is
Yeah.
that staying present and knowing that each new day can be a new day, a new story. You can reinvent yourself, and have hope for the future and what you want, Yeah, and it was
Bet
just
your
kind of
bottom dollar.
that tomorrow there'll be sun. tomorrow. And it was all kid voices. But anyway,
So good.
it's so good. So, and
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
oh my God, that was one of the kids. She was
her.
stressing me out,
She
man.
was stressing
She's
me out.
stressing me
Oh
out.
my goodness!
I was like, stop that. It was really cute. It was very Oliver Twisty. Like, that was around that time, too. I feel like we had a lot about, like, kids just being, like, it was dire. All right, so what is our vote on Annie? What do we think? Oh, gosh. What's a good one? There's some
Annie.
good rating systems.
Oh, little orphan Annie.
Oh, Little Orphan Annie and Sandy. Remember they were trying to make...
I love you, Miss Hannigan. What did you say? I love you, Miss Hannigan.
I was getting scared.
Carol rocked it. She was
She
so
really
mean.
did. She was actually strangely lovable, too.
There were a lot of remakes
Remember-
of this movie. Did you know there's
No.
one with Cameron Diaz who plays Miss Hannigan
No,
and
that's not the same.
Jamie Foxx plays Daddy Warbucks.
No.
Yeah.
I'm so
In,
glad I
like,
didn't
early
see that. I'm so glad I didn't see
I
that.
haven't seen it either, but
I don't wanna. Who
Don't
played
you wanna-
Annie?
I'm not sure of her
Aw.
name, but cute little girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were like trying to milk it again.
Trying to milk it.
Swear. All right. So I would say, what's our rating for this? Our rating is gonna be.
Is it a forever home
Oh yeah.
or
A Hard Knock
no
Life.
adoption?
Oh.
Oh.
How about a
No.
Hard Knock Life?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So a Forever Home.
Or a hard knock life. And we say,
It's a forever home in my heart.
yeah.
Annie.
Oh, Annie.
Annie, we love you, Annie.
Annie, are you okay?
Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? Are you okay?
Ooh, I like those.
Oh, that's shimmy shake. All
You know
right.
that wasn't about this Annie. Michael made that while he was doing CPR class, and the doll's name was Annie.
Oh, my
and
God,
it had to
Michael.
be, Annie, are you okay? You literally have to say that when you take a class. To
But
say,
he made a
Annie, are
song
you
about
okay?
that. I wish
Wouldn't
he had-
you? I mean, it was a hit song, Shay.
Annie, are you okay?
All
right.
Annie.
Oh, Michael, he was grasping for straws there. He's all like, my CPR dummy. Inspiration. All right, is this the last one, or did we already finish? Last one on our Sonic Chronics coaster in 1982.
It's the second chance to dance.
Oh, this would be a second chance to
It
dance.
is second chance to dance. Wow, look at that going in the order it should.
That worked out. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
give it all you got. Give it all you got.
This is appropriate that I'm reading this.
Okay.
Okay. I've seen things you wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Ooh, that was good, Shay.
Trying to do it like how he did it.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. That was Roy Batty. He was a Nexus 6 replicant, portrayed by Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
That's the actor. I couldn't remember his name.
Yeah.
This was that moment at the end of the movie where he basically realized, because the expiration they put on these replicants were 4 years, because they were so evolved that as a fail-safe, the creator, which was a human creator, they basically only allowed them to live 4 years. That way they couldn't evolve so much that they'd take over humanity. That was the idea.
Yeah.
But actually, originally, and that says in the beginning of the movie, that the replicants, the latest versions, they were so sophisticated and they learned this was happening that they banned them from Earth.
Yeah.
There was like an uprising that happened. So I guess they would come back for some reasons, or they were basically needed to make sure that they kept them out. So they created this like task force called Blade Runners.
Blade Runners.
Which were typically ex-cops, and Harrison Ford
Daddy Ford
was one of the main character.
Oh, yeah.
His name was
Rick Deckard.
And his job was to make sure that if they heard of any replicants coming back into Earth, that he would exterminate them. Just shoot to kill, no questions asked. So the journey of Blade Runner, I just think this movie, for me, was, I didn't see it when it first came out, but I did eventually see it. I'm actually a sci-fi fan, so obviously I really love this movie.
Yeah.
But I did think it was really ahead of its time in terms of the concept, what it was speaking to. I mean, we're in this whole AI boom right now, and it was talking about that in 1982, and cinematically, how it did the sci-fi and all the things that were techie and advanced, because it was supposed to be in the future, was pretty good for the time. You know, it was around the time of Dune and Tron and all that stuff was happening. And not only that, but the sound of this movie was, score was iconic.
Yes, it was scored by Greek electronic musician Vangelis, and it received acclaim as influential work in the history of electronic music and one of Vangelis' best works. He won so many awards for this. It's crazy.
I mean, the sound of this movie, it's so iconic. You could just play a bit of the sound and people will know it's Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And it was setting the tone for that kind of sound, just like E.T. was setting the tone, like Spielberg picked that kind of vibe. Anything like Goonies and all those movies would always have this orchestral. That was the same for Blade Runner's sound.
Yeah.
That would be like iconic for like setting the tone for sci-fi movies of the era.
He killed it.
That was really cool. And so the idea was these replicants were built by this like, innovative designer, billionaire, whatever. And so they would come back, and I guess they were considered dangerous. Anyway, so he heard of this group that had come back, Roy Rucker Hauer. Yeah, he was one of the main ones. And Daryl Hannah made a debut. She was the kind of female counterpart to Roy. And the thing is that what happened was Rick, who is Harrison Ford, he actually was like this kind of coming to terms with this idea of like, he was just like, oh, I need to shoot to kill and these things are dangerous, whatever. But he ended up unintentionally getting to know a replicant on a human level and realize, oh, they have feelings. They have, maybe I'm looking at this wrong.
Right.
And it's not so black and white. And so there was a lot of that going on. Sean Young played a character that
played Rachel.
Was a love interest moment that made him change his mind. And so by the end of it was almost like he didn't want to do that anymore. Roy and Daryl Hannah's character, the whole point of them coming back is that they wanted to find the creator to see if they could change the expiration so that they could live longer. And that was the whole point. So it made it seem like they were the horrible robots, AI, but they really just wanted to live. And that was it. But of course, it's all sci-fi and crazy and dark, and it's always raining, and it's dirty in the city. I'm like, why does it's usually a male director, think that the future looks like this?
Oh gosh.
I was saying to Patricia, I was like, I want different perspectives on why don't you see nature, sunshine and things evolved cities? Instead you always see these cluttered, cluttered cities that are trash and dirty and there's such just economic disparity, but then there's also I was like, what is that? It's Total Recall. Everybody thinks that it looks like that, and it always makes me feel it's dark. It sets the tone for that. But what did you feel? This was the first time you were seeing it. I know you kind of were not sure, and you're not as big of a sci-fi fan as I am.
I'm not a huge sci-fi fan, but I was interested in the love story.
Yeah,
and
there was a love story with Rachel and
Rick. I thought it was really cool.
And Daryl Hannah and Roy.
Yeah.
That was a love story too.
I really love that Edward James Olmos was in this.
Wait, who was he going to be?
He played Gaff. Remember that young little cholo looking guy?
That's right.
He was so young.
Oh my gosh, that's right. He was that was the detective, right?
Yes, I think so.
He was the one that was like kind of like on Rick's back or whatever. And at the end, he was like, "You're not gonna do this anymore, right?" And he's like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm handing in my badge. I'm over it. It's not for me."
It's
Yeah,
a very interesting film.
very interesting. I know you're torn,
nice flick.
but after my explanation a little
Yeah,
bit more,
I had to
do you feel
explain it to me.
differently?
Well, to be fair and honest, as I was reviewing this, I got distracted. I didn't really watch too much of it. But after you explained it to me, I was like, okay, I might give it a chance.
Yeah.
I know how big of a film it was. And if I were watching this in 1982, oh my gosh, I would have been blown away. It was
groundbreaking for the
incredible.
time. Yeah, the subject matter, I thought it was ahead of its time. Sean Young's character, Rachel, was an example in this where she was like a new generation that nobody had been really exposed to because they were trying to test this concept of like, she was a generation of replicants that didn't know they were replicants.
Yeah.
And then the creator was testing this, and it's a lot of ethical issues here. But think about that. And they didn't put an expiration on date on her because she was this new tester unit.
Yeah.
And so she ended up riding off in the sunset with Rick. But wasn't that interesting?
Super interesting. But also, this is kind of terrifying because the time that we're living in now with ChatGPT and these AIs and
so worried.
Siris and Alexas and all the things.
Shh, they're listening.
Oh my gosh. See?
I'm just kidding.
It's kind of scary. And like, I'm afraid of Blade Runner happening.
Oh. No.
us now.
That's just like saying you're afraid of Matrix happening. Did you watch that one?
Not yet.
Okay.
How could I not see
I don't know.
Keanu.
Keanu.
I need to watch it. Let's
First-
review that year so I have to watch
we
it.
need to. The original is the best. Still
I
the
keep
best for
putting
me.
it off.
But no, here's the thing. There's always going to be, like I said, there's always going to be alarmists about this technology. Whenever we have new surges and waves of technological advancement and understanding. Technologic, like Daft Punk. The thing is, there's always going to be a fear because, like anything, technology, I think, is just neutral. It's in the hands of the beholder. You know, like it depends on the intention, right?
Yeah.
So with anything, there can be malicious intent or benevolent intent, right? But I think it's inevitable of our technological advancement. I think it's inevitable. So what I'm saying is make sure you say please and thank you to Alexa so that when they do take over, they'll remember you were nice to them. Just kidding.
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
No, but
oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Leaving lizards. But overall, I just always felt like there was a sequel. I was not happy with this weird sequel. It was not with Harrison Ford. I think there must have been something wrong. I didn't look at the facts around it, but I think Ryan Gosling was like starring in it. It was like Blade Runner 1942. I don't know. They put a number.
Reynolds or Gosling?
No, Ryan Gosling.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
In the sequel.
Okay.
Because that came later. It was almost like it was definitely in the 2000s. But it was like, I don't remember if it was extending the story or if it was a reboot. I can't remember. But I just was like, I think they wanted to do it because they're like, oh, now we have the cinematic technology to do it right, you know. But I thought the original movie didn't really have a lot of room for improvement in that area.
It's always iffy
You know?
when they remake movies.
It is iffy because I'm always like,
I don't like it.
Really, can't you just come up with a new story? Do you need to regurgitate this? Can't we just write a new story? Something new to say? New way to say it? Like, how many Supermans do we need? How many Spider-Mans do we need? How many Batmans do we need? Right?
Yeah. Marvel people are going to come for you, though.
I know, Marvel. All I'm saying is, you have a lot of characters that you could put out there as fresh and new, and I will tell you what, I will be buying a ticket. Okay. Let's be friends. But seriously, I think that I really did think it was like ahead of the time. It was groundbreaking. It was scratching the surface and inspiring others
Scratching that itch in your brain.
Scratching that itch. It was like meeting of like technology and this it was bringing humanity back into that and reminding people it doesn't have to be all scary and wars and like your aliens are gonna suck your brain out. It could maybe we're more similar than we realize. That's what I think Blade Runner was saying. It was saying I think we all have the same desire to be loved, to live. And experience this life and beauty. And really, that's what I thought was so poetic and beautiful about Blade Runner. At the end, his speech.
That is beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh.
You really love this movie.
I'm really trying to sell you on it.
No, you did sell me. I am going to give it another go.
Oh, you give it another go?
That's
wonderful.
I'll test it out.
I feel like But yeah, I felt like it was really really helping us look at how to look at the humanity in our advancement or our technology, really. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was obviously something we enjoyed. We don't vote on our second chance to dances.
Yes.
And so that's a good thing because I don't know how Mandy would vote, and I can't hear it. She's not loving it. No, I'm just kidding. But so yeah, that was just us bringing that to the forefront in case you missed it because it wasn't in the top 10. I just think it's an iconic movie. I would love to hear what you guys think about it because I think it just set the tone for a lot of really great sci-fi movies that came after that. But also from a sonic perspective, it just emotionally, the score was just so fantastic. It was not just dialed in and cliche. I know he was like
groundbreaking,
wasn't it? It's just so
innovative.
Yes, but recognizable. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you hear wow,
thank you,
innovative. Ooh, I like that too. All right, so we still have some honorable mentions that we got to talk about. Now these are the ones that didn't make the cut for a full review, but they were sometimes in the top, but sometimes maybe a little outside. So we wanted to make sure that we mentioned that they were there this year as well. And you started off.
We can start it off with Tootsie, one of my favorite
remember
movies.
That one?
Dustin Hoffman, he plays an actor. He's not really getting any roles, so he dresses
and
up
Jessica
as a woman.
Lange.
Jessica Lange.
Remember Jessica Lange? And she kind of made a debut back into American Horror Stories, remember? And she was,
oh my gosh, yes.
She's awesome. She's super young and really like at her heyday on this movie. But Tootsie, this was an interesting one.
Good, yes. It's really, really funny. He basically dresses up as a woman to book this role on a soap opera, and he becomes like this sensation, and everyone loves him. And then he kind of falls for the lead actress in the soap opera, Jessica Lange's character.
That's right.
And there's like some drama going on.
She doesn't know, very similar to Miss Doubtfire, she doesn't know that he's not a woman until they find out later. But what's interesting is, again, interesting reoccurrence of Victor Victoria, that kind of vibe, and then Tootsie, that kind of a vibe.
Totally.
And Tootsie was really well known. That was a big one. The music, I'm not sure. Was there anything super noteworthy there? But it was just more about like the story
there was
really
a very good hit song in that.
I feel like there was, and I know we're not going to go too much into it, but like I think there was something, but the other ones had a bit more to sink our teeth into. But yeah, it was just a really interesting take again on this viewpoint from a female perspective. Women in the world. He realized, actually a famous line, and I don't have it because we didn't do the deep dive, but his quote was, he was a better man as a woman. Who was he talking to? Was it Jessica Lange? Than he ever was. So because he had to step into the shoes, he really had empathy as a woman and was a better man for it. So I loved that.
So good.
What else? Hello, for all you like Jim Henson fans, The Dark Crystal. That was 1982, and I know that's new to you. And it was like this weird, like I was so surprised that this was like a mainstream movie. It was meant for kids, but it was pretty dark. It was actually like so typical sign of the times for Gen Xers. It's like Gen Xers had lawn darts. They were latchkey kids. Like people thought that this was good material for us to be exposed to. It was so traumatizing. It was really intense and scary. And it was all these puppets, and it was about the battle of good and evil. These Skeksis were the dark kind of like, vulture-like creatures. And then you had these like elflings that were like the good creatures, and they were terrible. They really shortchanged the elflings' faces. The Skeksis were all like elaborate, and they had all these things, and the movement and the face. It was the first time they did a lot of practical puppetry instead of using CGI,
Yeah.
And they thought that was going to be the wave of the future. I think it was just too expensive and too much. And also, like, there was just no micro expressions in the elflings, so they were just like, let's go get that dark crystal. Now, it was just like this weird, like, rah, rah, rah. So anyway, there was a dark crystal, but that was actually a really interesting story. If you want to catch that was in the top. We had 48 Hours.
I have not seen 48 Hours.
Yeah, I saw it one time. I didn't see it again. But that was with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was Eddie Murphy time. He was big in the 80s.
We watched that. It was a top grossing
That was a cop. There was a lot of like feel-good cop stuff going on, and that was another one, 48 Hours.
Ooh, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes,
Ooh,
with
such a
Sean
good one.
Penn.
Sean Penn.
That
He
was
plays
his
the surfer,
the long hair, Spicoli, you know.
Spicoli.
He was the young Sean Penn, and it was really iconic.
That is where Matthew McConaughey had his first role. All
Was
right,
it?
all right.
No way, I didn't know that.
And you know
I haven't
that
seen it in
line
a
was
while.
improvised. He
Which
improvised
one?
that line. All right, all right, all right. What he's known for.
That
was,
came from that movie?
Yep, it was the first line he said on film.
I gotta
and it
rewatch
was
that
improvised.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
so
God,
good.
that's such a cool fun fact.
Green light.
You know what else? Chariots of Fire.
Ooh.
Hello, who hasn't heard of that? And that was actually very iconic for the music. I mean, dun 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 dun. That's Chariots of Fire. I don't really know much about the movie. Do you?
Never seen it.
Okay, and then
Grease 2.
Grease Lightning.
With
Grease
Michelle
2.
Pfeiffer.
There's controversy of if Grease 2 should have been made.
Yes.
People were like, come on, no.
I love
Because it was nobody from the original Grease. It was
That's
almost
not true.
like,
Pinky was in it.
oh, Pinky, yes. But it was almost like they should have said Grease to the next class or whatever. It was just like one of those deals. They were trying to milk it. But it was fun. It had some good, like, obviously, what's her name?
Well, it was the next class. It wasn't Sandy
was.
and all them. It was
Right,
like,
I know.
you know.
But that's what they say. It didn't
Michelle
make it
Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer was the new Sandy.
I
Who
want
was
a
Olivia Newton-John.
cool rider.
And the original Grease was in 1980. So it was only 2 years after.
Yeah.
That was fast.
Super fast.
And why
was-
why didn't they have the original people? It's not like they were
Grease
so
lightning fast.
so far away that they were so much older. They could have had Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta again.
But at
Don't you
that
think?
point, they're not doing
They're not
a
in high
sequel
school anymore.
unless you're-
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, and they also
They weren't
graduated.
in high school, yeah. It was about high school. It was like high school. Anyway, that was
Such a good movie.
again a
That
musical.
was like my childhood
A
staple.
musical. It was like musical year.
Total musical year. So that. What
Wait,
else
you
was
forgot
in
the final one. Pink Floyd and the Wall. That would have made our cut. But you know why?
We couldn't find
We
it.
couldn't find it.
We couldn't find a place to watch it.
I only found it to
Nowhere
watch a
was streaming.
preview. But that was a very famous movie based on the band. And I don't know, it was like kind of in the category of like Clockwork Orange. That was Pink Floyd and the Wall. If you can find it, please let us know where we can find it because I actually want to rewatch it. I want to watch it from start to finish. It was an iconic, obviously, musical. So, with that said, we are a wrap on 1982.
That's a wrap.
Mandy. Oh, man, that was crazy. It was nostalgic. It
This
was
is a
like,
great year.
exciting. It was confusing. It was. I
was
want
all
some
the above.
Skittles and Reese's Pieces and
Reese's Pieces.
yeah.
And a phone
Halloween
home.
candy. And a phone home. You need a phone home. So with that said, as we always ask, how do we do? What do you guys think about the titles we talked about? Are there other
you like
titles? Yeah.
Let us know how you feel when you rewatch these films.
Yeah.
Did you feel the same vibe that we got out of them?
Any fun facts we missed?
Yes.
Any other movies that you want us to review? It doesn't matter the year. We'd like to hear from you because we want to know where should we dial in our time machine to go to next. And follow us on Spotify, of course. You're probably
Yes.
listening to that on now. But anyway, follow us on Spotify. SonicChronic.com is our official website. And we will soon be on Patreon, which we can't wait to have you there to be our exclusive
Producers.
I like to say producers. That's right. You are our VIP producers for the show. So we're going to make it worth your while. So with that said, this
was
was
the frequency of that time.
Oh, you left me hanging.
Got the clap.
Sonic Chronic.